Hi guys, it's Dr. Mitchell again. We're looking some more at calling a non-void method or a method that returns values to represent some different behaviors. And we'll use those return values and expressions to produce some different outcomes. So what are we learning today? We are looking some more at how non-void methods return a value that's the same type as the return type in the signature. And we'll see how when we use the return value when calling a non-void method, we could store it in a variable or use it inside of an expression. So in this, we're going to actually walk through creating a program, a lunch calculator program. So just imagine that you and your friends went out for lunch. You guys get the bill, but it's one total bill instead of it being split. So you guys decide that, okay, we're going to divide the amount of the bill equally. Everybody's going to pay the equal amount of this bill. So as a result, each friend now needs to know how much to pay. So we've got to take a step back and look at, okay, so what information do we need to represent? What behaviors do we need to represent in this lunch calculator program that we're making? And then what information do we need to know to define that behavior, as well as what information do we need to give or return as a result of conducting that behavior or doing that method. So we know then that we need to divide the amount of the bill equally. Okay, that is our ultimate goal. That is the behavior that we need to achieve. So in order to do that, we need to know the friends, number of friends basically, because it just says you and your friends, but I want to make sure that this program works for like if I have 5 friends go to lunch one day and then 2 friends go to lunch the next day. So however many friends that I have is one piece of information I need to know. And I also need to know what the total bill is in order to figure out how much everybody's going to pay equally. And then what I need to give or return is how much everybody's going to pay, how much each individual person is going to pay out of that total bill. So if I go through and I do this step by step, then I know that I'm going to create a method that's going to return a double, okay? Because if I'm looking at how much each person is going to pay, it's a decimal amount. Money is a decimal amount. So I'm going to return a double value as a result of this behavior or give that information to the user. And I'm going to call this method divide bill. Right now, my parentheses are empty because now I need to look at, okay, what information does this method need to know in order to divide the bill, right? So we said earlier, we need to know the number of friends that I'm splitting this amongst, and I need to know the total amount of the bill so that way I can use that in my calculation. So I'm going to plug that into my parameters. My number of friends, of course, is going to be a whole number because I can't really have a piece of a friend, so that's not going to be a double or anything like that. So I'm going to have int numFriends to represent my number of friends that I'm splitting the bill amongst. And then I'm going to have the total amount of the bill, which is money, so it's decimal values, so that's going to be a double. That way I can use those two pieces of information within the actual content of the method to conduct that behavior. Then once I'm done, it'll return that back to where that method's called. So in order to find out how much everybody's going to pay, I'm going to have this variable called amount per friend that's going to store the result of the total bill divided by the number of friends. Then I have my return statement, right, which returns that information back to the main method or wherever this particular method is called. And that return statement has to return the same amount of information back to or according to what was in the method signature. So since the method signature says that we need to give a double back to wherever it was called, I need to make sure I return a double back to wherever it was called. So what do we take away from this? We see that non-void methods can return a value that's the same type as the return type in the signature. And then if I were to use that lunch calculator in a main program, I can then store that result in a variable or use it as part of an expression when I call that method. Thanks. I will see you guys again soon.